We're going to begin this morning with former President Trump's use of power. Leaders from major media organizations will meet with Attorney General Merrick Garland today. They'll be talking about new revelations that the last administration's Justice Department subpoenaed tech companies to get data from journalists, lawmakers, and congressional staffers. These efforts were part of leak investigations during the Trump presidency. The New York Times is now reporting the Justice Department also subpoenaed Apple for data linked to former White House counsel Don McGahn. Now, it's unclear why prosecutors were seeking McGahn's information. So to break this all down for us, let us bring in CBS News legal contributor and former Manhattan prosecutor Rebecca Roiphe. Rebecca, good morning. So the Justice Department Inspector General is looking into all of this. What questions will the Inspector General be trying to answer during this investigation?
Well, the aim of the investigation is to get at what was the leak investigation in the first place, who was notified about these subpoenas, and who else was subpoenaed. I mean, we have this information, but were there any others who were the subject of these subpoenas in this investigation? Because the real question underlying this is, what was going on? I mean, leak investigations are acceptable and quite frequent, but it is rare and possibly even unprecedented that these top lawmakers would be the subject of a leak investigation. So it's incredibly important to get to the bottom of who was behind this and what was the predicate. In other words, what did they know that motivated this investigation in the beginning? And was it possibly politically motivated? Could it have been directed from the White House or somebody else?
So I know I was really surprised to hear that Don McGahn's data was also collected. I don't know how much, the Justice Department might overlap with counsel for the White House or cooperate or anything along those lines. So that's why that surprised me. But you have previously worked as a prosecutor. So what stands out to you as unusual about how the Justice Department was conducting these investigations?
Well, that certainly does seem unusual. It's mysterious as to why the Don McGahn would have been subpoenaed in this instance. And again, we need to get to the bottom of what was actually motivating these investigations to start with. Did somebody order these investigations? Or if not, what was the predicate? What did they know? I mean, it is possible that there was some information that we already had that motivated it. In other words, did somebody know that Don McGahn perhaps was speaking with the press or something like that? I mean, leak investigations, again, are legitimate. Going after leak investigations in an aggressive way is legitimate. But it is so unusual that you would choose this path that I would want to know why and who. We have this situation where, the top lawmakers, Jeff Sessions and Bill Barr, are saying that they did not know about this and did not approve that. So, I do think that the Department of Justice Inspector General should try to figure out, well, then who? Because something like this, in my mind, I mean, my initial response was, this is so sensitive that it must have gone all the way up to the top. So if it didn't go all the way up to the top, what failed? Why not? And who was involved?
So that brings me to my next question. Democratic congressional leaders say that they actually want to hear testimony on this issue from former attorneys general Jeff Sessions and William Barr. Do you agree with those calls? How important is that testimony in your view?
Extremely important, because they have now gone public and said, oh, I don't remember this. But you want to, if you were a prosecutor, that's not good enough. You want to get somebody under oath and you want to ask them directly, because we do know that Attorney General Barr has a tendency sometimes, when he doesn't want to disclose full information, to respond in a way that is technically true, but may not be giving us the full truth. So what we really want to know is, in order to get to the bottom of this, you have to get somebody under oath and you have to ask them very specific questions so that there's no way to kind of give an answer that isn't a lie, but is incredibly deceptive. So I would want to get both of them under oath, first of all, because then, of course, lies have consequences. And second of all, ask them very specific information so that we're not getting an answer that's, technically or partially true, but rather getting at the real truth. And the only way to do that is to subpoena them and get them under oath.
So part of the reason that we're all sort of finding out about this now is because in some cases the companies who received subpoenas were under gag orders and they couldn't notify the customers until recently. I would imagine there's a particularly high threshold, I hope there is, to get, a gag order. Can you explain for what reasons that would apply?
Right. So, I mean, a gag order, it is unusual. It's not, in an investigation, sometimes you need that, and you want that because the investigation is ongoing and secret. And if you tip off the subject of an investigation, it could undermine the information gathering. And so it can happen, but you're right that, especially in a context like this one where you are subpoenaing top lawmakers, getting a gag order is, again, sensitive. So what exactly did the what did the government know at that point that was motivating this investigation? Why didn't it go all the way to the top? If it didn't go all the way to the top, who was approving this? And who was out there seeking a gag order, and what information did they use to back up that gag order? And that's all we don't know. And it is possible that there was a lot of information out there that isn't yet public, but at the moment it looks extremely suspect because of these various different odd pieces that aren't fitting together. So we want to get to the question of why, and perhaps there's some explanation that doesn't implicate the Trump administration, doesn't implicate these officials, doesn't implicate others within DOJ, but we really need to figure out what that is, because at the moment it looks very troublesome.
Yeah, it certainly does. Rebecca Roiphe, thank you.
Thank you.